Right, today we are diving into the invisible forces that can either make or completely break a business. Seriously, think of this as your personal survival guide for the wild world of commerce. Let's jump right in. It's a tough question, isn't it? But we have to ask it. You see these passionate, brilliant people pour their heart, soul, and savings into a new business, and then a year or two later, the doors are closed. Why does this happen over and over again? So let's make this really concrete. Meet Priya. She has done everything right. I mean, she has a deep passion for coffee, an amazing product, a business plan that is absolutely rock solid, even a great location. On paper, she is set up for a huge success. But as you're about to see, what's on paper is never the whole story. Because here's the thing. No business, I don't care how well planned it is, exists in a nice, neat little bubble. Nope. It exists right in the middle of a storm of outside forces. And just a few months after her big grand opening, that storm hits. And it hits hard. A new city ordinance suddenly restricts her outdoor seating. Then a drought halfway across the globe makes her coffee bean prices just skyrocket. And to top it all off, the coffee shop down the street creates this thing called a galaxy latte that just goes viral everywhere. All of a sudden, Priya's profits are tanking. So what on earth happened to her perfect plan? Well, she was completely blindsided. See, her entire focus was on what was happening inside her shop. But the biggest threats, they were all coming from the world outside. And these forces, these unseen game changers, they have a name. It's what we call the business environment. And trust me, understanding it is the absolute key to survival. Okay, so here's the formal definition. The business environment is basically the grand total of everything outside of a business's control that can mess with its performance. You know, things like Priya's competitor, that government rule, the global economy jacking up her bean prices, all of that was part of her business environment. And the very first thing you need to understand about this environment is that it is always, always changing. What customers want, the latest technology, new rules, nothing ever stays the same. Now, because it's always changing, that makes it fundamentally uncertain. I mean, you can try to forecast and analyze all you want, but you can never ever predict the future with 100% certainty. I mean, who could have possibly predicted a viral galaxy latte, right? And when you start mixing all these dynamic, uncertain pieces together, what do you get? A system that is just unbelievably complex. A new piece of tech on one side of the world can spark a social trend that completely changes how people buy coffee right in your neighborhood. It's all connected. This image really helps pull it all together. Look at that feature called interrelatedness. Just think about how a new health craze, that's a social change, could be amazing for a local gym, but disastrous for a nearby bakery. Then you've got relativity, which just means the same event can be a huge opportunity for one business and a major threat to another. That viral latte was a huge threat to Priya, but man, it was a golden opportunity for her competitor. It just goes to show no business is an island. So if you're trying to navigate this chaotic, stormy sea, what do you need? You need a map. You need a way to make sense of all the madness and actually chart a course forward. And this right here, this is your map. We can actually break down this entire crazy business environment into 5 key dimensions. If you can understand each one, you can start to actually navigate the chaos instead of just getting tossed around by it. Let's take a look at each part of the map. First up is the economic environment. This is all the big picture money stuff, you know? Interest rates, inflation, how much spending money people actually have left after they pay their bills. For Priya, that spike in coffee bean prices, that was a direct hit from the economic environment. Next, let's group together social and technological forces. Social forces are all about the customs, values, and trends in society. For example, that huge push towards sustainability right now, that's a social force and a massive opportunity for a coffee shop. And then you've got technology, which is just churning out new innovations constantly. Your competitor launching a slick new mobile ordering app, that's a technological force. And Priya's rival, the Galaxy Latte, that was the perfect storm of both, a social media trend totally powered by new technology. And finally, we have the political and legal forces. They're related, but they're not the same thing. The political environment is more about the general stability and attitude of the government. Are they creating a confident climate for business? The legal environment, on the other hand, is about the specific laws and regulations on the books. For Priya, that city ordinance snatching away her seating, that was a direct hit from the legal environment that literally changed the rules of the game for her overnight. Understanding this map isn't just about avoiding problems. It's about spotting massive, game-changing opportunities. Let's look at a huge real-world example to see what I mean. Let's rewind the clock and head to India. Before 1991, its business environment was super restrictive. But then, in July of 1991, the country was facing a huge financial crisis, and the government announced a new economic policy. This wasn't just a small tweak, it was a seismic shift that changed absolutely everything. The whole new policy was built on these three pillars. Liberalization meant getting rid of a ton of controls and restrictions. Privatization meant giving a much bigger role to the private sector. And globalization, well, that opened India's economy up to the rest of the world. For any business that saw this change coming, it was the opportunity of a lifetime. And here's an even more recent example, India's demonetization back in 2016. Just look at this table. It was a massive shock to the system, right? But check out that line on digitization. Digital transactions went through the roof. Companies that were already prepared for a world with less cash saw this explosive opportunity, while everyone who wasn't was just left scrambling. Okay, so let's bring all this back to you. How do you actually use this map to navigate your world, whether you're running a small coffee shop or a giant corporation? So look, this is why it all matters. Constantly scanning the environment lets you see what's coming. It lets you spot those big opportunities and be the first one to act on them. That's what we call the first mover advantage. It also gives you early warning signals for threats heading your way. By paying attention, you can find resources, you can adapt to change, and you can build a business that doesn't just survive, but actually thrives. Let's just think back to Priya one last time. If she had been using this map, she might have seen the city council was debating that seating ordinance. She might have found different suppliers to protect herself from price spikes. She might have even created her own viral drink. She could have flipped those threats and turned them into advantages. And that leaves us with one final, very important question for you. Take a look around at your industry, your community, your world. What change is happening right now, maybe just over the horizon, that everyone else is seeing as a threat, but could actually be your next big opportunity?